perhaps if you're new to this and you're looking to eat less, to start, this might benefit you because you're only giving yourself a certain amount of time to eat. And maybe that's the trigger that allows you to say, like, oh no, I'm eating now and I'm not eating at this time. And I'm eating now and I'm not eating at this time. And that's a good thing to do. Welcome to the Hidden Summit Podcast. My name is Kevin Valance and I will be your host. On this podcast, we're going to talk about fitness, nutrition, lifestyle, and everything in between. If you find anything valuable in this episode, the only thing I'm ever going to ask you to do is subscribe so you can keep coming back and elevate your life to become better every single day. So is intermittent fasting right for you? It depends. I actually tried intermittent fasting once, or what you think intermittent fasting is, because to be honest, what you think intermittent fasting is, eating in this window of time every day and then fasting for a certain amount of time that day, is not actually intermittent fasting. So I wanted to dive into this today because just like any other diet or nutritional protocol, what we're doing here is taking a rule and placing it into how you eat, but following the base guidelines for nutrition. One thing I want you to understand is that when it comes to intermittent fasting or any other type of nutrition plan, keto, paleo, macros, Whole30, what we're doing is following a baseline of rules and then just playing with the time or the types of food or the amount of foods that we eat. One of the things that's most important, which you need to understand, is that some things are non-negotiable. We need to have the appropriate amount of protein for that meal plan and have the appropriate amount of total caloric intake based on where you are and where you want to be. So regardless, there's no one size fits all approach when it comes to any of these nutritional protocols. And I played around with a few of them: paleo, intermittent fasting, carb cycling, macro counting, Mediterranean, and they've all done well. I mean, I've seen success with all of them. The second thing I want you to know when starting a nutritional protocol, if you're considering doing something like intermittent fasting or any of the other plans that I've tried, is ask yourself, how long can you do this for? And I think a minimum of 6 months, 4 to 6 months, is an ideal time frame for you to say, I'm going to be able to do this and I'm going to feel confident in it. And when you do that, you'll be able to see results when you stick to the plan. Now, intermittent fasting, and I was listening to a podcast on this a couple of years ago, so my storytelling and actual memory of it might be a little bit off, but the foundation of it rings true. I was listening to a podcast where they broke down what intermittent fasting is and what people assume it is from this meal plan. And the difference is, we're going to decide today if intermittent fasting, the restricted eating window style of it, is right for you, or anyone for that matter. I am a fan, but is it right for me long term? I don't know. Probably not nowadays, but that all depends on what season that we're in. Actually, intermittent fasting would be to eat normally for a number of days, 4 or 5 days, and then to fast for a day, right? Or two. And what we're doing is fasting intermittently. We're not fasting for an extended period of time, but we're literally stopping consuming food and only having water to give our digestive system a break, which is the primary case here, which allows us to have a healthy gut and give it a break from time to time instead of eating constantly throughout the day or randomly throughout the day. But the diet, all right, the meal plan, intermittent fasting, is this restricted eating window. And if you Google it, which I just did just to get clarity on it, we see things along the lines of, here we go, intermittent fasting, hit your goals in 16 weeks. Intermittent fasting schedules, multiple, 16-8 method, intermittent fasting. That's an app that you download. Intermittent fasting, what is it and how does it work? What is intermittent fasting? Is it better to fast for 12 or 16 hours? Well, typically the meal plans that you're going to find is going to say that you will eat in an 8-hour window every single day and you will fast for 16 hours every single day, and you repeat that. What we do is get into the schedule, and really there's no right time to start. I mean, that depends on your life and your schedule. When I was doing it, I would start eating at 11, so 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and I would eat till 7 or 8 p.m., meaning that this window is a made up time frame, right? What we're doing is the same day every day. We're starting when we're eating and we're finishing when we're eating, giving our digestive system a break in the hours that we're not eating. That should be a minimum of 12 hours, right? So you could eat from 12 to midnight every day and then not eat from midnight to noon every single day, but that's probably not most people's schedule. How this started was at a university in California, they were doing tests on this theory and how it would affect aging and digestion and activity. And you better believe it, they started this test on rats. And the way this 16-8, 8-16 sequence came to be is that the shifts that the students and the scientists were working in the lab they were there for 8 hours, and then they'd go home for 16, and they would do that. So that's how this came to be. We started testing with rats, and then it moved to humans, and we saw the benefits for the humans at the end of the day. And it was actually something that it wasn't just this, oh my goodness, we tested this with humans and it worked first. Like, no, there was a reason behind it. And that's why in this podcast they speak about having this restricted eating window. For me, I would extend those some days, and it would vary. It wasn't perfect, but I did see results. And the results that they promise you for seeing with this type of nutrition plan are better energy, less hunger, less joint pain, better digestive health, better cognitive function. Very similar to many other types of meal plans. Paleo, Mediterranean come to mind. So when we do intermittent fasting, one of the things that I want you to think on is this a good plan for you? And what I mean by that is, are you able to get in the same amount of calories that you would get in a longer period in this shorter period of time? Meaning, we're not eating less in a smaller window. And perhaps if you're new to this and you're looking to eat less, to start, this might benefit you because you're only giving yourself a certain amount of time to eat. And maybe that's the trigger that allows you to say, like, oh no, I'm eating now and I'm not eating at this time. And I'm eating now and I'm not eating at this time. And that's a good thing to do. I'm okay with that. For me, I was pounding down a lot of calories training for competition at this time, and it was proved to be challenging. So I would have to have bigger meals, which had meant bigger portions of protein and more carbs and more fat. So I ended up being really full. And by the time I had to eat my next meal, I was still full. But I fought through it, and your body's really good at adaptation and acclimating to what you do after a longer period of time. So with that in mind, I actually felt really good later on in intermittent fasting. The other thing is, does it prove to work for your schedule when you train early in the morning or when you train late at night? You know, the other thing is that at first it was really challenging for me to train at 9 or 10 a.m. and eat at 11 or 12 after not eating since 7 o'clock the night before, because I had a really intense training session. And at first my body was not acclimated to it. It did not adapt. So it was challenging for me to actually go in and train appropriately, and it got mentally challenging as well. But sticking to the plan and saying I'm going to see this through allowed me to put myself in a position to actually see positive results without eating first thing in the morning. Weird. We can do this too. There's not a one size fits all approach. And that might be the thing I want you to walk away with today. When it comes to intermittent fasting, all we're doing is changing the timeline of when we eat, giving our body this cyclical timeline of when we start to consume food and when we stop to consume food, which ultimately gives our digestive system a break for a longer period of time, which could possibly, if eating the right amount of food and the right types of food, decrease bloating, gut sensitivity throughout the course of the day, help make you more regular when you're going to the bathroom, all fun things that we want to talk about at 6 o'clock in the morning, and allow yourself to have better energy and focus throughout the course of the day. So to make this work, right, we want to understand, yes, we want to have the same amount of protein in a shorter window. The time that you start and the time that you end is up to you, and anywhere between 8 and 12 hours of eating is appropriate. So even if you started with 12-hour windows, which is pretty normal, you can drop that down to 11 and 10 and 9 and 8 to get to that smaller window, increasing the portion sizes of your meals, getting the same amount of calories in throughout the day, which allows you to see benefits happen. This is not necessarily a weight loss plan. This is a plan to fit your day so you can eat the appropriate amount of food for your goals in your day-to-day. Intermittent fasting, the title means we're eating and then we're not eating for full days. Restricted eating window, which is intermittent fasting, the nutrition plan, means that we're starting to eat at a time and ending at the eat at a different time, the same time, day in and day out for extended period of time. I like to say 4 to 6 months minimum to actually see the benefits of this happen. It's not like we have it do it one day and it makes sense for us long term. The one thing I want to touch on that's, wrapping this up, is a very short and direct topic, is that I was a fan of it. It was hard for me at first. I got really hungry in the mornings. I was training clients. I was actually cranky at points of my day. And then one day it just clicked where I had this energy and this focus, and I was able to go into training and lift the weights, and I didn't think about food. And mentally, it was a challenge to deal with in the beginning. However, I was able to stick with it because I wanted to see if the benefits that people shared were actually true. Now, why did I stop doing this? I think I just messed up one day and then went back to normal macro tracking, and I still felt really good. So that's my take on intermittent fasting. I don't think it's a one size fits all or do forever thing. But if you want to set yourself up for a challenge and hold yourself accountable to actually sticking to the foods that you say you're going to eat, it might just be the deterrent that you need in changing the timeline of what you're eating to make it happen. Now, last thing, if you do this and you still eat like an asshole the entire 8 hour window, you're not going to lose any weight, you're not going to put on any muscle, and you're still going to be fat. So let's make sure that we have the right types of foods, the right amount of protein. This works for our schedule, it works for our training plan, it works for our sleep, it works for our routine, and then I will go out and try it. If you have any more questions on this and you want to talk about how to set it up for you, just shoot me a message and we'll talk to you later. Have a great day, everybody, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.